Hey, welcome back to the Ping Pong Flix Show. My name is Chris Wong. Welcome to episode 372 of the Ping Pong Flix Show. So, got some pretty good updates for you in terms of the DCEU. First of all, very short, but it looks like they will start shooting Black Adam in the summer of 2020. This is coming from Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson on his Hobbs and Shaw interview on IMDb, and he says that it is getting really close, and that is great. But the one thing that he can give away, which I thought was kind of interesting, was that John May, the director of Black Adam, wants to create the Dirty Harry of superheroes, which either further enforces the idea that Black Adam is definitely going to turn into a hero one day. He's going to be more of an anti-hero than an actual villain, but he'll still have that little scuffle with Shazam, and possibly maybe even work together to actually fight a common enemy further down the line. But I think he really wants this Black Adam movie to be more of a superhero movie rather than a villain movie. And maybe ultimately towards the end of the movie, he'll spiral into that villain role or vice versa. We'll see how that turns out. But it's interesting to say the least. And finally, for people who want that Black Adam movie, it's going to start shooting in the summer of 2020, meaning we probably won't even get the film till probably 2021, I would say. But pretty exciting for that. And also, on the Batman, we're starting to get hearing a little bit more people being involved for the Batman, Matt Reeves, the Batman movie. And this is an exclusive from Greek Geeks Worldwide. Thomas Polito saying, exclusive, John David Washington wanted for role in the Batman. He's hearing that director Matt Reeves is paying close attention to Black Klansman's John David Washington for a role in the Cape Crusaders' new solo film. Character details remain under wraps, but we hear that Harvey Dent is one possibility. No formal talks have begun yet. So John David Washington is also the son of Denzel Washington, a Golden Globe nominee for his starring role in Black Klansman, and is leading the ensemble cast of Christopher Nolan's Tenet, which is also interesting because Robert Pattinson is co-starring in Tenet, is playing the new Batman. So it seems like Warner Brothers really like these two together, and they're actually, and even Matt Reeves is recognizing that these two will probably work very well together, or has worked well together in Tenet so far, so might as well come over to his movie, The Batman. The Batman apparently will feature Catwoman, Riddler, Firefly, and Penguin. Matt Reeves is writing, directing, with Robert Pattinson starring as the Batman. It will hit theaters in June 2021. And I think this is probably quite very cool to see. I mean, it almost like the next generation of storytellers, the next generation of actors playing these characters. And in a sense, you'll probably see them more often, these two people. Robert Pattinson getting to more bigger roles after the Batman, or after Tenet rather, and John David Washington also getting a lot more roles. I haven't actually seen Black Klansman, so I'm not really per se of how John David Washington is, but seeing that he got picked up by Christopher Nolan and Matt Reeves, I think this guy's got talent. And then, yes, I did see that little teaser of Tenet. Rather interesting, short, interesting, and intriguing nonetheless. It is Christopher Nolan after all. Just seeing the words Christopher Nolan right on the screen, you know I'm going to watch that movie. You know everybody's going to watch that movie. So, very excited to see John David Washington meeting up again with Robert Pattinson on a new movie, and that movie, folks, is The Batman. Now, this may be a little bit tinfoil, but it's certainly interesting to see. And it may mean nothing at all. It may be completely something new. But DC World, big DC fan. He's in a lot of different DC sites, and he's apparently the United Kingdom's #1 DC Comics fan site. So he goes to all these events and stuff. So he put out an interesting tweet today with a picture, and he said this: "If only you knew what disc was in this envelope, you would think I was joking, it's a security strip. This DVD is the property of Warner Brothers. If security strip is removed or broken, contact Warner Brothers Contents Protection immediately. So it's apparently it's possibly a review copy of something, right? Or even it's a movie. It's Warner Brothers Entertainment, I would think. I can't figure out anything else it could be. I don't think it's a game. I don't think it's just a bunch of pictures. But I think it's a movie. Now, a lot of these movies, you're maybe thinking when he says joking, the one thing that comes up to mind is, oh, maybe this is Joker. Although I have trouble, and you can tell me if I'm wrong, I have trouble and hard time believing if it was Joker, he would actually be invited to a screening. Like, it would be on film. It would be actually in the theater. Now, same situation. I don't think it's like Birds of Prey or any of those other films. Wonder Woman 1984, come on. It's not going to show up on a DVD. At least I don't think so. Unless things have changed and reviews are done differently. But I still think this is something that has to do with Warner Bros. Home entertainment, right? And that could go through a lot of things. I don't think it's Batman Hush. When people, I really thought it was maybe Shazam, and people in the comments said that too, Shazam, Hush, whatever, and he replied, no, nice try again. And then I just jokingly said, what if it's the Snyder Cut? Well, I didn't say what if it's the Snyder Cut. It better be the Snyder Cut, and I laughed out loud. Of course, he never responded to that. And that would be an interesting thing if that is the Snyder Cut. And I don't think so. I think it may not be, but it would be interesting nonetheless to know what actually this movie he is being given to review, seeing it is a property of Warner Brothers, Entertainment, meaning it's more for home entertainment than actually something else, than actually the theatrical release of anything. At least I believe so. Now, it could also be a Netflix thing. It could also be a streaming thing. That could be as well. But I don't know. There's not a lot of things that I would think he was joking, other than it's the Snyder Cut. Not saying it is. Not saying that's just me playing around. I'm joking about it. But, I don't know. But in terms of talking about the Snyder Cut, just a little bit, and maybe in the big one, this is probably the brunt of this video, is that Kevin Smith had gone out to a podcast called Real Blend Podcast, which is for a Cinema Blend, and he said this. He said the title of this article is Kevin Smith says Zack Snyder cut of Justice League is real. Studio would be silly not to release it. Now, you and I know, we're all in this, already know it exists. We've talked about it forever. Zack Snyder had even called out and saying it exists. Jay Oliva says it exists. Everybody pretty much said it exists. Kevin Smith himself said it exists, but I guess we need to kind of just put this on a podcast and for him to say the exact words that it exists. But it's okay, because this gets it more out in the open, more to the mass audience, more for the people, Kevin Smith fans who listen to him, right? And if people who listen to him, we can gain their confidence, gain their support, that's all the merrier, I would believe. So he said this. When asked about confirming about the Zack Snyder cut, he said this: I've not seen it firsthand, and also to be clear, I know Zack, but it's not like we're effing tight, son. That being said, I've spoken now to enough people at various levels in that production. There is a Snyder cut, for sure. That's not a mythical beast. It exists. Now, it's not a finished movie by any stretch of the imagination. There were things that went away from the story that they shot that didn't wind up going into visual effects or anything like that. So I would assume, based on what I've been told, that large sections of that Snyder Cut are, pre-viz, with a lot of green screen. We're not talking a finished movie. When people hear Snyder Cut in their heads, they think about like a DVD they've seen of an extended cut or something that's finished. The Snyder Cut that, again, I haven't seen, but the one I've heard everyone speak of, was never a finished film. It was a movie that people in production could watch and fill in the blanks. It was certainly not meant for mass consumption. Now, we've been talking about this for so long, how finished is the cut. According to Kevin Smith, of the things that he's heard, that is not a finished cut, and so, but he hasn't seen it itself, so it's a possibility. We're not sure how much of it's cut. It is past the assembly cut for sure, and as Mark Hughes has learned, that it's possibly more towards completion than people have thought. So that is interesting. But the fact that he is coming out right here and saying it does exist, there is a cut for sure, and we just have to really find out how far complete it is. But he goes on further, and I think this is the part that really gets me. I feel confident that the audience could handle that cut of the movie without being like, I think there's a common thought process, probably within the studio. And again, no studio has said this to me, but I would assume that they've we can't show people this. Yes, there is a Snyder cut, but no audience would be able to look at this and see what the director's intent was. I disagree. That would seem like common wisdom because everyone always wants to put their best foot forward. But I think the audience now, particularly the audience that would consume the Snyder Cut and discuss it at great length, can watch a work print. They can watch a work in progress and fill in the blanks in their heads. I agree. If they or two release a Snyder Cut and says, you know what, we don't want to put any more money in it, here you go. They could actually make money on top of that as well. He continues, every studio likes to make money. They do multiple incarnations of movies on video all the time. This could just be one more of those. All they have to do is lend their audience a little bit more credence to be like, look, they'll get it. Put up a bunch of effing disclaimers, including one from Zach himself at the head of it going, obviously the movie wasn't finished. But here's what we're thinking. There's definitely a way to do it. They could definitely shoot a version that flick where, they put Snyder into it, explaining what would have went here, what went there, and he goes on and on about that. Now, you can listen to the full conversation I'm going to put that link in the description below from Real Blend. Go to around the 1 hour and 10 mark of that to hear the whole thing. But he goes into more details that it does exist and everything, and that he would really want to see it, and he knows that people would pay money to see it. He would pay money to see it. They could literally just put it on DVD. People in the society now, I guess, entertainment, where they're literally buying a disc or buying for more of that content, buying more. They want to see the deleted scenes and things. So of course they would just buy that cut. They could put two and two together, figure out what's going on in the cut, because a lot of it is there enough for them to understand, right? He also wonders why they haven't really released it, and he could only fathom, being that he kind of knows the studios and stuff, that this would be embarrassing for them. And we've talked about this to at long lengths, that it could be an ego thing. But he also clarifies that, hey, a lot of that original people aren't there anymore. What is there to be embarrassed about? Those people like Kevin Sujihara, the whole team, John Berg, Jeff John, Joss Whedon, whatever, they're gone. They're out. Of course, he didn't mention Toby Emmerich, but I won't get into that. But they're all gone. So that embarrassment shouldn't be there. And for the sake of making money, at which he believes this could make a ton of money, they're sitting on real money here. They're leaving money on the table, like I've always said. It should automatically overcome those egos, the overcome that pride of being wrong. And like he said, the people who were wrong are gone. So what is there to be waiting for? And I think at this point, and hopefully with Ann Sarnoff coming in, if that even mattered or whatever, and maybe after Toby Emmerich kind of gets a clue about trying to make more money in that sense, then I think they could really think about releasing it. And with the help of Kevin Smith and possibly all his fans, and how he's such an adored nerd in the Hollywood fandom by celebrities everywhere, that him saying this kind of talks a little bit more sense in the studio mind. mind saying, what are we afraid of? What are we afraid of showing? Why are we sitting on this ton of money and we're not going to release it and make more money? So I hopefully this gets into their heads a little bit more. And to the point of him saying that Snyder could come in and explain what had gone there, what went there, there could be an issue with that as well. And like you and me, we'll probably take it. We'll take whatever we can get. But I wonder, maybe Zack Snyder would rather have us see the finished product, the polished product, than a work in progress product, right? And so we kind of comes to a dilemma there, where Zack Snyder would have to be present to kind of approve it, I would think, in terms of the DGA, right? And I'm just assuming. I'm looking. I remember talking to Alex Lobos and talking to a few individuals about the DGA and how the final cut authority would probably be the studio, but that any new cut, anything that has to do with the Justice League movie, because Zack Snyder's the director, he has to be present, and it has to be kind of approve a new cut of the film. And so I'm just wondering, and I don't know this for a fact, but if the studio were ever to come up to him and say, hey, we're going to release the work in progress, we're going to release that, I wonder if he would allow that, or would he say, no, I want my audience, I want the fans, because this is for them, I want them to be able to see the finished cut. And then would that run into problems with money issues and having to invest more money into it? Or would Zack Snyder say, you're right, I clearly want them to see the work in progress at this point, so let's do it. I hope there's even a conversation. I hope that is even coming up. I hope the Warner Brothers at all are just actually going up to calling up the DGA or calling up Zack Snyder and says, hey, we're going to want to work out something. I hope that conversation even exists at this point, and hopefully Kevin Smith's interview here actually fuels that conversation to actually happening. And if it is happening, great! Maybe Paul at DC World actually has the cut in that little envelope that he has there. But who knows at this point? We can only hope. Well, that is all for today. I want you all to have a wonderful weekend. And again, I'm going to have a live chat tomorrow night, so stay tuned for that. Thank you so much for subscribing. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you next time.